So let's talk about reverse engineering your goals. And again, many people have never done this. If you've done some homework on it, great. We're going to talk more about it right now and give you some more things to think about, to go revise it, to update your plan. And that's, I want to give you a simple example of 600K in gross revenue. Okay, and a very good goal that everybody should have is whatever you did last year, set a goal to double it for next year. All right, and doubling is very easy at many stages. You've reached a point where doubling gets pretty crazy. You know, you've seen the thing, if you save a penny a day, you know, for life, well, it gets to be a point, you know, and then double it every day gets to be astronomical. But this is a very realistic goal, all right, that many people can accomplish. If you made 300 last year, set a goal to make 600 this year. And maybe you don't hit the whole thing, maybe you exceed it, maybe you cut a little short. Maybe you got to back up and get some infrastructure and systems in place, get your team in place. I talked a little about that in the newsletter this month. It's something we're continuing to build on our team in place for new levels of growth. But then you figure out, all right, let's just figure straight math. What does the math equal? All right, what needs to occur in terms of sales and marketing to hit that mark? Well, let's break it down. All right, 600K yearly gross divided by 12 equals average of 50K a month. All right, and this is doable, absolutely doable. Now let's look at sales and revenue matrix, which is a worksheet we've given you. And I've got examples of it in here, so I won't pull up the worksheet. But here's example one. All right, this is where a lot of people were a few years ago, and many people are still right now. All right, they have one product or service they sell. It's private training. And the average transaction size is $3,000 package, which if you're not selling $3 grand, get an auto closer and learn how to do that. How do you make the mark? How do you hit the 50? Well, 16 sales is 48K. All right, doable for a grand opening for a big month, doable for seasonal times of the year like New Year's, like a spring special, like a back to school. Pretty hard to accomplish in July when everybody's at the beach and on vacation. All right, so this is not sustainable every month for a year in a traditional studio facility or small facility. In a massive health club, different story. Let's look at example two. Private training, still got transaction size of 3,000. Now 8 sales gives us 24,000. We make up the other benchmarks in group training, nutrition counseling, nutrition product sales, and you look how you get to 49. This is sustainable every single month, easy. All right, very, very doable. And then we figure out, so that's the first step, is look at figure out how much you want to make, all right? And at 600K, where does that break down to expenses, to salaries, to all that kind of stuff in your budget? And then you figure, okay, now let me play with that. How do I get to that revenue on a monthly basis? Now you start to play with this matrix of sales and revenue. Once you've done that, you start to define some marketing goals. And that's something, again, a lot of people don't ever do. They say, all right, I need to make 50K. Okay, great. Well, what do you got to sell of what? And they don't know. And I say, okay, well, if you don't know what you got to sell, how do you know what kind of leads you need to generate, the volume of marketing you need to do to hit that mark? Because it's not just about running a bunch of campaigns and tools for the heck of it because it's fun and you got all this stuff, it's a wild ride and exciting. You know, heck, if this thing doesn't add up to some numbers at the end of the day, why are you doing it? Marketing for the sake of marketing is pointless. It's marketing to hit some sales goals, to hit some revenue goals, to support the mark that you want for your life and the business. So you got to do the math and you got to reverse engineer this stuff to the T. Is it always going to happen according to plan? Guarantee it won't. It will not always happen according to plan. But you got to know where you're going and you got to have some vision of how it's going to happen. So we start to break down some marketing goals out of this matrix. And we figure out what are average close rates. And if we know our average close rates, and very simple, you can get these up by improving your sales process and training your sales team, then you can really start cranking. And you can see some math here. And this is a formula which I released at one point several months ago and caught an error in it. So this is the correct one. Make sure if you've seen me talk about this stuff previously in Gold Plus, we talked about it, I think in June. This is what you need to do. all right, you take your multiplier is 1 divided by your average close rate equals your multiplier, all right? And you take the number of sales that you need times the multiplier equals the number of leads you need to generate. So, given this last example, if I want to sell 8 private training packages a month, all right, and I know I close about 75%, I need to generate 8 leads a month for private training. So now I know what I need. Now I'm going to go fishing in the pond where private training clients live with my bait, and I'm going to catch some 11 fish. I'm going to bring them in and cut them, fillet them, and walk out the door with dinner for 8. Okay, that's how you hit it. So you just go down the line: group training, nutrition counseling, nutrition product sales, and you start to figure out how many leads you need to generate. 147 leads you can see at this estimation. Okay, however, this gets a little easier because we go to example 2 when we have continuity. Continuity is a beautiful thing, all right? And it will sustain you in times when the other, the poles you got out fishing with aren't bringing in the fish like they used to. The fish is a little quiet right now, okay? So that's why you got to build in continuity in your business, because it means you always have enough food packed away in the freezer to take out and eat when you're hungry. All right? It doesn't matter if there's not a whole lot of fish in the pond right now, you got food to eat. Well, that's what continuity is. And I did not think of that before. That's live, Eric, by the way. Eric always gives me a hard time for coming up with these great metaphors. So that's what you got to do. You got to build in continuity. Great continuity streams: boot camp, small group training, nutrition products. All those things are great examples of continuity. How many people have some type of continuity in their business right now? Raise your hand. Okay. So everybody else who didn't raise their hand, you need to commit to develop some type of continuity in your business for next year. Because it doesn't matter if you're not pulling in 11 leads for private training this month. You're going to have, and you're not bringing in, whatever, 20K worth of private training revenue this month. It's not going to kill you because you got another 35 on continuity. That's not going to be affected, okay? So this is what you need to go through. When you see now we're down to, with continuity, 66 leads. All right, very, very doable. 147, that's some hump work. Can be done. You got to have a lot of marketing going on. You got to work at 66, very reasonable. So this is why you want to build continuity, and this factors out attrition as well at 10%. So some of those people are not going to renew or going to fall off the wagon, and you're going to need to get some new people in. That's part of it. But continuity will stabilize your business, and you'll sleep a whole heck of a lot better because you're not starting out the month at 0 every month, scrambling to make the nut. All right, you're starting out the month at 20, 30K in the bank, and man, you don't have that massive fire raging underneath you.